The ProTrax 4-inch oval side step bars that we have here for the 2019 and newer Crew Cab Ranger will be for the owners looking for a high quality step that will offer plenty of footing at a relatively affordable price point. Now the ProTrax will deliver that 4-inch diameter along with the very durable steel build, black powder coat, and 3-year warranty, all for right around that low to mid $300 price point. So the side step and Nerf bar category in particular is a rather large one, and I think you'll find everything from different diameters ranging from 3 to 6 inches, different finishes, black, chrome, different lengths, and then finally different end designs. Now the most important feature here with the ProTrax option will be that 4-inch diameter, which is going to be for the Ranger owners who might want to switch up from a factory running board to a more sporty Nerf bar, but don't necessarily want something massive hanging off the bottom of their truck, such as those larger 6-inch options. Now the ProTrax step here is made by Weston, certainly one of the heavy hitters in the industry, and in fact they do offer over 20 different styles of either side steps or running boards for the Ranger alone. Now the ProTrax is going to be one of the company's entry-level offerings, and the price is certainly going to reflect that. Now with that being said, the construction is still very solid overall here, and as such is backed by Weston's 3-year warranty. Now you're going to be looking at heavy-duty steel throughout, guys, finished off in that satin black powder coat and completed in this case with the 30-degree ends. Now the pads for both front and rear passengers are non-slip, sizable pads at that, and maybe one of my favorite in the category for similarly priced options as far as design and effectiveness go. Now sometimes with these side steps or these traction pads in particular, you get varying levels of size, design, traction surface, so the fact that you're getting a large one here for both front and rear passengers, along with a very grippy kind of feeling, is certainly worth pointing out. But aside from the construction and diameter here with the ProTrax, some of the basics to expect when installing a Nerf bar like this is that more sporty look, I would think, over a running board. Footing is certainly a biggie here. We talked about that diameter and the traction pad surface area. A lot of real estate for your foot, both front and rear. So that will ultimately make entry and exit a tad bit easier for both front and rear passengers. Now you're also going to be seeing a bit more protection from door dings. This is something a lot of owners don't really think about, but when we're talking about a larger Nerf bar like the 4-inch ProTrax here, because of how they are situated on the truck, they're actually going to act as sort of a first line of defense against people just swinging their doors open in parking lot and otherwise catching your door or cab of your Ranger. So again, a side benefit, if you will, here of installing a Nerf bar like the ProTrax. But shifting gears, let's touch on the install, and site's gonna call this a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and maybe an hour or 2 of your time depending on how fast you like to work. Now the ProTrax from Weston do include a pair of Nerf bars, so obviously you're getting a step for both sides, along with all the brackets needed to get everything in place. Now speaking of getting these in place, pretty much a socket set is really all you need to get the job done, but regardless, to give you a better idea of just how things will go down on your Ranger at home, here's an American Trucks customer to walk you through it now.
All right, for this install, we used a 3/8 torque wrench, 3/8 ratchet, 16mm socket for the 3/8 ratchet, the 16mm socket, and the ratchet and the extension we used to tighten down the bolts that went from the truck to the brackets. And then the brackets go to the side steps. So from the bracket to the truck, 16mm. Extension comes in handy with the ratchet. Extension also come in handy in the spots on the front bracket we couldn't reach when we were using the torque wrench to go to 38 foot-pounds. 10mm wrench, 1/4 inch ratchet with a 10mm socket. We use these to tighten down the covers that go on the brackets to cover up the area between the step and the truck. I used a 10mm ratchet wrench, which made that job a lot easier if you have it. It can be done with the socket, but if you have the ratchet wrench, it would be easier. Even 2 wrenches, it can be done that way. And we use the supplied Allen wrench to tighten the screws that go into the steps that connect to the brackets. All right, you'll see the hole here on your rocker panel. There'll be 1, 2 and then 3 up front. And there'll be another hole up on the side. So, see on the bracket, there's 2 mounting points. Bring it up. And you're gonna just loose fit everything first for step 2. All right, center bracket, same thing. 2 bolts. And the front bracket. All right, mount these 3 brackets. It'll be the same exact 3 brackets on the passenger side. All right, now that we have all 3 brackets loosely tightened on the side, you're gonna take your covers that are gonna go here in between the cab and the step rail, the smaller hardware, and you're going to attach these 2 holes with these 2 holes. All right, it's gonna take 2 bolts, 4 washers, and 2 nuts per cover. 2 holes in the bracket, 2 holes in the cover. We're gonna stick it on. And that's it, and just like that, you'll do that on all 6 brackets. And once we get the rails installed and everything loosely installed there, we'll come back, tighten everything all at once. All right, now that we've got our brackets installed down the side, you'll take your rail, you'll see 2, 4, 6 holes. You're gonna set it about where it needs to be on the brackets. And then we'll get the 6 bolts, get under there, line everything up. This is why you don't ever tighten anything if you can avoid it until the install's over. That way you have room for things to wiggle and move to get all your hardware installed. All right, we're using the black Allen head bolts supplied to us by Weston. 2 per bracket. Line it up. And put it in. To ensure that they don't fall, I'm gonna go right here to the center one. All right, now I'll bring the driver rail to the passenger side so everything will line up. Repeat those same 6 bolts and everything will be loosely attached. All right, now that everything is hand tight, we're gonna go under and I'm gonna tighten from the truck down to the rail, tightening the smaller bolts in the covers last. First, we'll use the 16mm on the ratchet. I like to use an extension to get my hand out of the way and to get it away from the truck so I have room to turn it. So we'll tighten all 6 bolts on the truck, tighten all 6 bolts on the rail, go to the other side, do the same. Then we'll go to the very last step, which asks us to torque all of the M10 bolts, which are the bolts that went in the steps and the bolts that went in the side of the truck, to 38 foot-pounds using the torque wrench. All right, all 6 bolts were they attached to the truck. If you push up on the rail, should be able to spin it in by hand most of the way. There we go. All right, and I'm just going to tighten everything evenly through the whole rail before I come back to torque. Now that we snugged up all of the bolts on the cab, we'll come down using the Allen wrench provided and tighten up all of the bolts that are on the step itself, the bracket. All right, now that we've snugged up the bolts on the Allen head bolts that attach to the rail and the bolts that attach to the frame, we're gonna snug up these bolts that attach to these covers. You wanna kind of hold it where it best covers up and gives a seamless look, which seems to be about centered. So, yeah, ratchet wrench would definitely be the easier of the two on this. Of course, that's not to say it can't be done with a 10mm socket. Put it on the other side, on this side, using the regular wrench on the other side. That would work as well. What we're doing is centering these to where they cover the gap. About right there is probably going to work best. So, last step, you're going to need a torque wrench. Set it to 38 foot-pounds. .38 16mm socket. All right, now that we're underneath the truck, not a whole lot of room to work with, but we'll figure it out. And there it is. There it is. And we'll go through and we'll torque all 6 bolts on this side, all 6 bolts on the passenger side. Identical set.
But wrapping this one up, guys, if you are looking for an affordable 4-inch Nerf bar option from one of the most popular names in the category, well then the Pro Trax from Weston will be a solid choice, and you can grab yours right here at AmericanTrucks.com.